Good afternoon and welcome to this week's edition of Sunday Night Live, the automotive show where we bring you all things automotive. Tonight, I'm honored to have my friend and guest, Robert Sebestyen. We're going to talk about the Under My Care and all kinds of great customer experience tips and techniques and things like that. A lot of you know this guy, some of you may not. So before we get started, for those few people that might not know you, Robert, thank you very much for coming on the show. I would like you to tell those one or two people a little bit about you all the way back to birth, because I know this is going to be a story everybody wants to hear.
All the way back to birth.
All the way back.
Welcome, everyone. I'm so honored to be on Paul Meyer's Sunday Night Live. It's really where the people that are movers and shakers in automotive show up, right? And it's really just an honor. I'm humbled. Thank you, Paul. And thank you, everyone who's tuning in. So from birth, okay, I was born in Transylvania. That's already, yeah, there you go. So I was born in Transylvania, and I left Transylvania. It's part of Romania, but back then it was a communist country. And little did I know that really you could do well anywhere in the world. I mean, there were things that we didn't like about that place, but I learned later that I could have done really well anywhere. So it took an act of God. I mean, I was threatened by military. I tried to cross the border illegally. I was going to come here through the Mexican border. You know, everybody wants to come to America. America is the land of dreams. But anyways, eventually I was able to dream about it long enough to do it all legally. But I came to the States, and here I ended up going to a college in Chicago about travel. It was a travel and business college. And we learned back then airline service was the standard, was the benchmark. And everybody said airline type of service, right? So that's what we learned. And of course, a lot of airlines have forgotten about that along the way, but we learned it the right way. And some airlines are now going back to that. So I lived in Chicago and started working for a manufacturing firm. And this manufacturing firm made parts for the defense industry. And that's where I first ran into some eye-opening experiences, some of the things that we'll talk about tonight, that sometimes things are hitting you right in the face, yet people don't do anything about them. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. But so I lived in Chicago. We moved this plant all the way down to South Carolina, and I had my dream job. The company built a plant, 30,000 square feet. That was my plan to run, except we got sold to the competition. So then I found myself in Charleston, South Carolina in 1994, where the Navy had just pulled out 40,000 troops. So real estate tanked, and everybody thought, well, many people thought it was the worst time to be here. Well, the smart people knew it was the best time because real estate tanked. They bought up the real estate, but I needed a job, and there were not many jobs at the moment, and there were a lot of competitors for these jobs. So I ended up in sales, in car sales, because they'll hire anyone. So they hired me as a salesperson for Mazda and VW. With all this manufacturing background, I was a manufacturing manager running a plant with 70 employees. And that's how I ended up in car sales. And then about 4.5 years into it, but I was always, these books you see here, they're not just, for decoration. They were actually the books that I studied because I went halfway through college, but I didn't really know anything about manufacturing when I got hired to run that plant. I sold myself, so I was a pretty good salesperson, right? But with that manufacturing background, I was always in the consulting type of thinking. I started selling cars, and I had this BDC in my office. I had a 640 megabyte Packard Bell computer in my office. I ran Act 2.0, the software for CRM, and that's how I kept in touch with my customers, created a newsletter, monthly newsletter, sent out 10,000 letters a week. And the dealership went from selling 20 cars a month to 150 cars a month. They bought it from a second generation owner. And so about 4.5 years into it, almost 5 years into it, lots of customers started telling me, Robert, we love you. You're the man. We want to buy all of our cars from you. but your service department sucks. So
hold that thought just 1 second, because I don't want to fall too far behind. I just want to acknowledge some of the guests. We have Micah Larkin. Happy holidays to all from West Hartford. Joe Brawler says, good evening, Robert and Paul. Mike Vogel, the coach. Good evening, my Fixed Ops brothers. Brian Cates. Hello, Paul and Robert. And Lamont Harris. Good evening, guys. Terry Torleen. Hello, Robert. Great to put a face with the voice. And Scott Sexton says, hi, Paul and Robert. What's up, Mike Vogel? Sean Butler. Heard of him? Maybe. Winky face emoji. Mike Vogel says, hi, Scott Saxton. Jeff Daniels. To fend off the daily concerns, give a listen to Robert's posts in the morning, positivity and questions. Questions for the soul. Yep, love your daily videos, man. Especially the Rocky one. The Rocky one really knocked me out. No pun intended.
Well, that was Rocky.
Abel Aguirre says, howdy all. Mike Vogel says, Robert Sebestyen has solid fixed. Aaron Bratstad, hey all. Lamont Harris says, hey Aaron. Steve Chesson is back on. Hi. Gene Girdley says, yo. Abel Aguirre, Robert Sebestyen, Paul Meyer Will. Oh, wow, you know what? The video here doesn't line up with the text there. So there's like a bunch of other stuff. Abel says, we'll have to catch the video later, guys. He's driving. He goes in early and he comes home late, because I see his videos sometimes when he's traveling. So sorry about that. So they loved you. They wanted to buy their cars from you, but the service department sucked.
You are awesome. And look, you didn't lose your train of thought.
Never.
That's awesome. You're an awesome interviewer, Paul. Thank you so much. So what were we talking about?
You went from manufacturing to car sales. They loved you, but the service department sucked.
Just kidding. Okay, yes. No, I know. And so because of my manufacturing background, I figured, and I went to technical school. So my high school was technical electronics. We did 3 weeks actual studying, all the theory and everything, books, and 1 week practice. So we actually did some electronics training in high school, 4 years. Well, actually 5 years for me, because I repeated 10th grade. But I had the background. I love the subjects. It's nothing about my studying. I just really love 10th grade material. Everyone should go twice through it. And I'm just kidding. No, it's just one of those stories. You know, you go through 10th grade twice. I talked to my parents and I said, Dad, Mom, and we're going to come back to why I went to service. But I said, Mom, Dad, if I go in our town, in that school, it was the best high school out of 17 high schools.
Wow.
If I'd gone to summer school, I would not have been able to continue in the same school. They would have taken me out and sent me to these evening classes, kind of GED. So I told my parents, let me not go to the exam. I'm going to flunk the exams because I'm going to be a no-show. And that way, I'm going to start over. I'll do it right the second time. I'm going to study. And I'm going to finish the high school in this best of 17. Now, there's another high school that thinks they're the best, but no, ours is the best. So anyways, I find myself in my 5th year selling cars, and I'm doing everything, follow-up letters. I took all the orphans out of service, loaded them in this CRM, Act 2.0, and I followed up with all the orphans. As soon as somebody quit, I got all of their customers loaded into this system. So that's right, because nobody else cared. Back then, nobody else cared. They worked a lot like crazy. And every time they hired 15, you know what they say? Hire them in masses, train them in classes.
Yeah.
Out there. So every
Wait
time,
for the up bus.
that's right. And they would cut into our income. It was they hired 10 salespeople, and we were 10 of us on the sales floor. So anyways, but customers loved me. They knew my face. My face was on every newsletter on the corner. On one of them, I'm hanging off the side of a mountain. Here we go. And on another one, I'm playing guitar or whatever. You know, I wanted people to know me, the person, you know, the story. And so repeatedly, they kept coming to me and say, Robert, your service department is so terrible. And in fact, I would go to get coffee in the morning. There was my customer I sold a car to about 5-6 months earlier. They're drinking coffee. I mean, they're waiting for an oil change. 8 a.m. 12 o'clock. I'm leaving for lunch. The guy's still there. I said, what happened? for the oil change.
4 hours, man.
4 hours. And that was typical. So what I ended up doing, I said, okay, I'm not only going to find a dealership, but I saw an ad for a service advisor position at a Honda dealership, Hilton Head Island Honda down on Hilton Head. So I applied for the job. Now, I didn't know a lot about car parts, so that was a conversation just recently on LinkedIn. Do you have to be a technician to become a service manager? Now, it helps for sure, and it is a pretty steep learning curve. But because I had the electronics background, the training from school, and I did get interested in cars quite a bit, I learned really quick. I took all the classes. I worked next to the techs. I started changing oil. I started changing brake pads and master cylinder, slave cylinder, whatever on the clutch. And that's how I learned. But that's how I ended up in service, because they said, hey, your service department sucks. So I thought this could be done better. So I went ahead and applied for the job. So 3 months later, the service manager quits. And by then, the technicians who were reluctant at first, they said, what? This guy used to be a sales guy. He's going to come run the service department. But they loved the fact that people were basically buying all the services. We presented everything. And they went to the owner. The technician said, hey, don't hire a service manager. Let this guy hire himself a service advisor. We were a small department. Make him the manager. I was like, sure, I'll be the manager. But again, I came with manufacturing management background. I had hired a staff of 70 at the manufacturing plant and interviewed about 500 people to do that. So I didn't just kind of back into it. But I want to show you this, that I kept these letters. So the newsletters, you see, this is one. Oh, where is it? So there's my picture there.
In the corner.
In the corner, yeah. So I don't know, what am I talking about here? How often is too often to trade? Should you buy an extended warranty? There's great value in detail. Detail your car before you come trade it, because yes, it looks a lot better. And then, so these were things that I did, and people remember you, you know, if you tell them a little bit about your story. Here's one with the guitar.
You're not always selling them something. You're adding value.
See, there's
yeah.
So I'd meet these guys, these people out in town, and they were like, hey, you're the guy that plays the guitar. You're my salesman.
Now, let me get to a couple of comments before we go further, and I've got something I want to throw in. We've got Lori Foster in the house. I love Lori Foster. She's awesome and a half. Lamont says he loved the Rocky video. Lori says, Paul, while I've got you, I need your address. I will message that to you, Lori. Lori says, hello, Robert. Tully Williams said good stuff tonight. And Jean says, where are the Tully buttons? That's what I want to know, Tully. Where are the Tully buttons? And where can others get the Tully buttons? Because those Tully buttons, that easy button's got nothing on you, bro. Nothing. Aaron Bratcher says, that is insane. Mark says, hi, Mark from Cincinnati checking in. And our buddies with the transporter, Ty Thompson. Good evening, gentlemen. Scott Saxon says, hey, Sean Butler, hope all is well in Tennessee. And Mike Vogel, the Fixed Stops coach, says, great customer handling skills is the main reason you succeeded, Robert. Now, I want to throw in a couple of things. First of all, I love the 10th grade story. Why? Because you learned at what most people learn at a very late stage in life, that sometimes you need to take one step backwards to take 2 steps forward. Okay? To come to terms with it and say, hey, you know what? I can hit reset and do this and do it better and have a better outcome. That takes a lot of cayunes. And so I give you a giant props for that. All right. I mean, that's forward thinking way back when. More people need to do that, because there are people today that do stuff that really shouldn't be doing it. And they would have benefited from taking that one step back to take 2 steps forward. So that's, and as far as the needing the experience, the service manager experience for the job, look, managerial experience is good to have. It's really good to have. Maybe required, but it doesn't necessarily have to be exactly in that field. If you're somebody that is sharp, that knows that regardless of the industry or the product, it is the people that you manage. So if you have the people skills down and how to interact with the business. Whoa, what happened there? So you were the right guy for the job because mentally you were ready for it. You had the people skills. Now it's just a question of learning a little bit more. But obviously, by what you're telling us, you're not afraid to roll up your sleeves and get in there to learn it. So that's what I wanted to throw in. Got a couple more comments here, and then we'll continue. Hey, Sean Butler says, hey, Scott Saxton and everyone, love these guys. Always ready to learn. Oh, we love you too, man. Ed Roberts in the house. Good evening, gentlemen. And Michael Landis says, hello, everyone. Love this show. All right, do continue.
All right, so starting out without having been a technician in the past, I dug so deep. I took the classes, all the service advisor, service manager classes, and even some of the technician classes. But here's where I noticed this trend, and this is kind of off the, well, it is the subject. So when technicians had a really difficult repair, they would be allowed, let's say 1 hour. The BPSM allowed me 1 hour without calling tech line. The rule was you got to call tech line, and you have to get an authorization number for straight time or whatever. They can guide you through. Maybe there's a bulletin we don't know about. But here's where I found 90% of the time, tech line would walk the technician back through the workshop manual diagnostic chart and ask for the measurements at each step, which 90% of technicians would want to skip because they said the workshop manual is dumb. So that stuff doesn't work.
Back to basics.
At least at the couple of dealerships that I worked at, they kind of had a tendency to do this. And they were some master technicians, maybe experience was their enemy sometimes. So we started, of course, one of the dealerships I managed, they were the worst in the country. I mean, we were last, bottom 5%. It was Kia, Isuzu, and Subaru. But for all of them, we're bottom 5%. So I told these guys, we're going to play a game. When we call tech line, the race is on. We call tech line, get a case number, and then I'm going to pay you straight time. And you and I together, walk me through your thinking, walk me through the workshop manual. And together, and then of course, I called the foreman also, occasionally the shop foreman, and the three of us would sit there and walk through each measurement. And that's how I found out sometimes that the tech didn't know how to use a multimeter. He didn't know the difference between ohms and volts and whatever. He didn't know how to look for grounds. So I said, we're going to be ready. So by the time Techline called back, 9 out of 10 times, we were actually ready. We knew everything. Either we already fixed the car or we were ready with all the measurements. So all of a sudden, within a few months, we kept being number two. So I was number 2 in the region for Isuzu for 12 straight months. And the GM, after about 6 months, he was like, Robert, come on, man. Can you be number 1 month? Come on, give me 1 month. And I couldn't pull it off.
They were in the lower 5%, and the guy's breaking your stones to be just 1 month.
I could not pull it off. But let me tell you what happened. I noticed a trend after about 3-4 months. Number 1 was never the same dealer. It was always someone else. So 12 months later, guess who's number 1 for the year? We're number 1 for the year. So myself, my technician, one of my service advisor, we went to Mexico. We went to Playa del Carmen, the Royal Hideaway, beautiful facility. I'd go there anytime. It's a 5-diamond resort. I mean, the tax on this thing was $1,500.
Wow.
Mid-90s, So look at this. See the where's my camera? There's my camera.
Robert Sebestyen, Isuzu, Stokes Isuzu.
That's right.
South Carolina.
And part of why I ended up in 2007. I ended up getting out of the car business for a period, is because Isuzu pulled out of the country, so we couldn't help that, despite of us doing such a great job. And they sold off their Subaru franchise. What a big mistake, anyways.
If they knew then what we know now.
Yeah, but they're awesome owners. They're great owners, great operators, but they weren't ready to take Kia seriously either. They were kind of like dabble and selling 20, 30 cars a month. where the competitor across the river sold 100. But anyway, so that's what happened. And again, the lessons over and over. And I want to go back to the beginning to my first job in the U.S. I worked at Austin Continental Industries in Chicago, where in one case we manufactured a part, a detonator for a missile, for the Patriot missile. Actually, you might have heard of that. And one operation, the operators were doing 6 pieces an hour, and it was a masking operation. You have to mask it so they can paint it. My mom helped me. My mom, who used to be a CEO she owned her own factory and was a national buyer for many groups. This was in Europe. But my mom pointed out, we can redo this process and do a lot more an hour. And I said, okay, Mom.
Wait. What was that word?
Process?
Process.
That's right. So we got from 6 to 60 an hour. They let me take these pieces home. So it was an eye opener. I said, wow, these people knew, the people that were doing this job, they knew they could do a lot more. But they were afraid that if they do, their hours would be cut. Now, so there's some low-hanging fruit in every organization. And that was my first encounter with this. This company put us through W.E. Deming, total quality management, statistical quality control classes. But sometimes just because you do the training or you bring in the trainer, that doesn't mean that the people will actually implement the trainer. There was no follow-up. And that's the problem with most training, right? In sales, they say, hire them in masses, train them in classes. In service, I came up with this one. Maybe you've heard it before. Train them in the service drive, hope they stay alive. I mean, you put the guy through a whole week of training. 2 weeks later, he doesn't remember but 2% of it. So unless there's follow-up, and that's what happened. Now, in the same company, there were 2 other guys. One guy went to CNC school. He took all the classes and went from making $6 an hour to $16 an hour within 2 years. And then he continued improving his income. But these other 2 they were always cooperating, say, hey, don't do too many. They're going to think we can do that many. And the company's out of business today.
I'm not surprised.
Because the managers, and that was the other story, leadership. Kenny, the owner's son, managed by screaming. That doesn't work. It never worked.
Not a good motivator.
Not a good motivator. And that's what we found again when I got to managing the Isuzu, Kia, Subaru. There were so many things that you could fix right away. We actually stopped taking in work. I told the guys, okay, time out. We're not going to take in any more work until all these VORs, vehicles off the road, are gone. They had cars laying everywhere when I arrived. I mean, people calling, threatening lawsuits every day.
You know what the problem was? You know why Isuzu went out?
Why?
You're going to hear it here first. It was Joey Isuzu. The problem with Joey Isuzu was he lied to everybody, and that finally caught up with him, and that's when they decided to pull out. Now, totally kidding on that. But let me grab a couple of comments before we go too far into losing these. Russ Mann says, knowledge drop coming. Ron Usher, hi, Paul and Robert. Ron's threatening to retire. I don't know if you heard the rumors or not. Jeff Daniels, small shop technical experience helps, put the right person in the manager's job to get out of their way. Michael Landis says, talk to Ted about the Tully buttons. We do have more. He'll be getting that call from me tomorrow morning, I promise you. Justin Searle, what's up, guys? Hey, think top buddy right there. Think tank buddy right there. Mike Vogel says, Jeff Daniels, yes, leadership and customer handling skills are key. Oh, what happened? Michael Landis says, we need fixed ops. Mark Williamson, shout out to fellow South Carolinian Robert Sebestyen. Though you don't sound quite like you are originally from South Carolina. Yeah, you might have to put a little more twang in that, Robert.
Hey, y'all. What's up?
Pull off the South Carolina thing. And Lamont says, fixed ops brothers buttons. I take 2. All right, you'll have to call Ted in the morning. Steve Apicella, Great leaders navigate are how to exceed their customers' experience expectations through continuously refined processes and amplifying the strengths of their team. That, if successful, increases retention or revenue/retention. The winning combination is different in every environment and constantly evolves in the same environment. Spot on, 100% truth right there. Steve is a sharp guy. I love the comments because all of his comments are thoroughly thought out and just articulately put down. Love it. Linda Hansen says so many stores aren't even looking at service customer cars for a week or more. Back in the day, I remember it was a Chrysler store, and they had some issues going. They wouldn't even, to Linda's point, they would never even look at the car, or they would pull the car in. Wait a minute, what was that? They would just drive the car through the shop from one side to the other and park it on the other side. That's all they would do. They wouldn't work on it. So the phone call would come in. I'll never forget the guy's face. The call would come in. Oh, it's Mrs. Smith. Wants to check on the car. Is my car done? Hey, Mrs. Smith's car? It's been through the shop. Yep, it's been through the shop. Come on down. Never even look at the car. Crazy stuff. Let's see here. Terry Tarleen, you should expand this show to 90 minutes. It's the fastest hour in automotive. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Ron Usher says, whoa, this is a world announcement. December 31st is officially his last day. Now, not to put the pressure on, but I've been asking Ron to come on the show for quite some time. And he says he's not an on-camera kind of guy. Kenneth Dunner, our buddy from Sugar Land, Texas, says, play your damn guitar, dude. Martin Williamson, training or processes. It's really all about the accountability. Absolutely. Oh, yeah. You going to play Freebird for us?
No. It's not plugged in.
Sean Butler says, Kenneth Dunner, ha, ha, ha. Michael Landis, call anytime, Paul. And Joe Perez, my man Joe. Great show, Paul and Robert. Michael Landis, we should talk Mike Vogel. And Linda Hansen, so sad that these things have gone on and in some cases still do. Yeah, because you know what? Those were the precursors to what people think of service departments today, the stuff that happened before. That's why I always say, if we can help each other collectively become better, and it doesn't matter what store you're in or I'm in or he's in or she's in, it really doesn't, because when a customer comes in, they see us all as people in the car business. And the acts of one will soil it for many others.
There is enough business for everyone, that's for sure.
Yeah.
You go to some of the independents and people stand, like the tire store here in my town, people stand 20 deep to pick up their vehicles. They're turning away 30, 40 cars a day. They can't work on them, but people love them. These people did such a great job with their marketing that people love them. They see the people that are working there, and they have integrity too. But there's enough for the dealers. So dealers, I don't think are competing. I'm not competing against the other Honda dealer across town. Every now and then you're going to be competing on price. So somebody's going to say, well, you guys charge $600 for this. They quoted me $580. That happens, but that's rare. No,
$20 is nothing. That $600 job, they'll pay you $650 for if they like you.
That's right. That's right. And that's the whole premise, turning to under my care. That what I found, and I think most of us in customer service have found, that when you care deeply for your clients, eventually they start caring for you. So at first, you have to jump through all kinds of hoops and do all kinds of things and do magic tricks to impress people. But really, those are not what impresses people. People are impressed by never breaking your promises on time, on pricing, on estimates.
No matter what.
And when you do, it quickly have a big antenna. I apologize to all of you. I wanted to bring these TV antennas and put them on my head tonight and wear them a little bit. You've got to develop a sense, a very, very acute sense for recognizing when a client's about to leave and they're leaving thinking, I'm not coming back here and I'm not recommending. So those are the main two questions that matter. is will they return and will they recommend us? So you got to have a good antenna that even the service advisors, hey, quickly make a decision, take care of the client right now, not tomorrow, or if you said that you would call them tomorrow. So eventually these clients, they end up caring for you. So even if you made a mistake, if you're consistent with your estimates and one day you make a mistake and you quoted 650 and it's really 970, that's a big difference. But a client, someone who's been under your care for a few years, and you tell them honestly, look, I totally messed up. I totally left this part out of the estimate, whatever the case might be. Or when you type the text message, you put the numbers in, you made a mistake. Of course, there's software coming for all that, but still, they'll forgive you. Now,
Right.
you don't want to take advantage of that because that's a high trust. Eventually, as much as they like you, all that liking will go away if we don't.
Like that.
That's right. If we don't continue deliver on the trust, on the price, on time, communication. So, and that's what the Under My Care whole system is about, is that you want to look out for your clients to such level that you would never allow them to leave your presence without knowing the correct quantity, quality, frequency of service combination that would bring them the most level of protection if we're talking about items that are safety, or enjoyment, accessories, sell some accessories, or protection like territorial line, present the protection.
Right.
If in the winter, if you don't offer headlight restoration, start offering it tomorrow.
Right.
Do it. It's saving lives. If you live in an area, if your dealership's in an area where there's a lot of 2-lane highways, then having the Under My Care philosophy means you get together with everybody and you do a brainstorming session and let's see, hey, what have we not thought about? Ways that we can serve our customers that are legitimate ways that we can serve them. That's one of them. Of course, wipers are given, tires are given. You've got to do the tires. But again, the challenge with training is that we train them in masses, in classes, and then, we put them out there and it goes away. But research shows that in order to actually start implementing something, it takes at least 7 repetitions. And so the Under My Care training is part of the Gravitational Service Department system, the platform, which actually Lamont Harris has test-driven the system. Lamont, would you please comment? I really kind of wanted to bring you on the show live, but maybe next time or in the future, Paul will invite you and ask you. But if you want to comment on it, comment. And some of the comments that I've got are amazing. I've got one service director who said he's shown it to all of his service managers. He's playing the videos. They're short videos. But the key is to attack the heart and the mindset. So I'm dealing with the mindset first, with the state of mind of Under My Care. It's just like a doctor makes an oath. When you become a doctor, you make an oath to do no harm and to care for your client, for your patient, and try to save their life. That's why doctors work crazy hours and sometimes they go without sleep, because their heart it's a calling.
Right. That's exactly right.
So why not do it as a calling? And, someone said once, the way you do anything is the way you do everything. So a person that comes in and becomes a service advisor or a technician and kind of dabbles in it, doesn't put their heart in it, well, yeah, they're cheating the client, they're cheating their employer, but
they're cheating themselves.
They're cheating themselves, because if you decide that you're going to get everything out of every situation you're in, then you go in and say, hey, teach me, show me how to get to the highest level in this. Because the way I do anything is the way I'm going to do everything. So you set yourself up for failure.
I want to go back to something you said earlier, and then I just want to get to a couple of comments, and then we'll continue. But earlier you said, you make a promise, you have to keep it, right? It seems like such a basic thing, but so many people don't really seem to follow through and honor that type of commitment. And I'll give you a perfect example, okay? I volunteer for too many things. I don't know why I do it, but I just do it. So now I've I work with some nonprofits, and I do some content for them. I do some web design and other things for them because I believe in giving back to the community, right? So now there's an event coming up, and they asked me to do a video for them because we're going virtual this year, and they needed a video because they're not going to get the type of sponsorships that they would get as a live and in-person event, right? So I've made the commitment to do this. At the same time, I launch a new online business. Now, I'm on the computer from 8 in the morning until about 1 or 2 in the morning, with some breaks here and there. So time is time is very scarce. I have no extra time at all. But I made a promise, right? Like you said, you make a promise, you have to fulfill that promise. So there were nights that I was up till 2, 3 in the morning working on it because, like you said, if you make a promise, you have to follow through on that. Because if you don't, all the good that you do, it doesn't matter how much good you do, you'll lose that credibility and you'll lose that trust instantly the first time you let somebody down by not honoring a promise. So I wanted to go back to that, and I want to address a couple of the comments here that have come through. Mike Vogel says, Paul Meyer, Joey Isuzu was played by David Leisure, who was a customer of mine at Universal City Nissan back in 1980. My favorite Joey Isuzu commercial was where they're at the wedding. I don't know if you remember this one. They're at a wedding, and somebody had left an Isuzu parked in the middle of everywhere. And Joey's like, hey, like, who's car? I don't know the exact verbatim, but hey, who left their car here? Who parked their car here? And then somebody in the crowd says, hey, isn't that your car? And he gets a smirk on his face and says, it is, isn't it? So that's my favorite Joey Isuzu moment. Sorry to go off track like that. Michael Larkin says, congrats, Ron Usher. Looking forward to seeing you in 2021 on Sunday Night Live. Yes. You heard that, Ron. I'm going to hold you to it. Linda Hansen says, we are all in this together, 1,000%. And you know what? Kenneth Dunner, he keeps, I think those are guitar emojis. I think we're going to have to hear a couple of strums or whatever you call them. I'm not a guitar player. Wow, I missed out on so many comments. So yeah, and he says, stop talking and start singing. Crystal is local. I love Crystal. She is at one of our repair shops that we go to, our favorite one in the area to be exact. She says, I love when people come in for the first time and know who you are. I love my customers. You know, that thing I've seen it work so hard that you never have to introduce yourself, that people know you by your works. Love it. Sean Butler says, I've got a face for radio, but came on anyway. What are your thoughts on kiosks? Not getting the customer care there. Personalization of the visit is key to developing key tossers. That is a whole conversation in itself. I wonder if that might be a good show. It'd be interesting for sure.
So one thing on kiosks, maybe the one use I see for them,
yeah,
should be relegated to night drop. Night drop only, otherwise shut them off.
You know, there's so many schools of thoughts on that one, and that could get into a heated conversation with lots of controversy. I think I'm going to see if I can put a show like that together. Kenneth Dunner says, Sean Butler, not true. You have a gorgeously handsome looking face for radio. Linda Hansen, yep, put deposits in the emotional bank account. Absolutely. Sean Butler, Kenneth Dunner, yes, I do. And I think this is Lamont because it's coming through as LinkedIn user, and we solved that issue before. It was the privacy settings or something in your LinkedIn account, which is why it shows up as LinkedIn user and not the name. It says, I attended Roberts Gravitational University. Brian Cates says, the video opened some great discussions. Absolutely, it does. Mark, our buddy from Cincinnati, I'm not going back to Superior Kia in Cincinnati for a few trust reasons. ND, total lack of COVID precautions that every business is supposed to adhere to. You know, I ran into a situation locally where I had asked the service manager, hey, what's your sanitation protocol? And this person actually said to me, we don't have one. And I said, what? We're in the middle of a global pandemic, man. What do you mean you don't have any sanitation protocols? You know what? Do not bring my car here. I will show up with my wipes, my Clorox wipes. Love it. And Steve Epicella, Paul, touches on a significant point. Customers will pay more in return for great experience. Leaders deliver a great experience not just because it's the right thing to do, sleep good at night in parentheses, but because it's tactically the best way to fortify and grow the bottom line. When we become commodity, everyone loses. I am a firm believer that you have to do it for them 1,000%, because if you do it for them 1,000% and make that the focus, everything else will fall into place. Everybody measures everything. How many hours, how many lines per RO, how many this, what's the CSI score? All these things you measure when you really need to focus on, in my opinion, one thing and one thing only, and that is offering the absolute best customer experience of anybody. Wow, if you'll pardon my French, wow the shit out of them. Because if you wow the shit out of them, guess what? All those other numbers fill in, right? They come to you, hey, do you do this? Or not even. They'll just drop the car off with a note. I want you to do this, this, and that. Well, I do these things, but I don't do this one. You call them up. Hey, thanks. I got your car through the key drop, but we don't do these two items. And you know what they say? Oh, come on. You fix all our other stuff. Can't you please do this for me? And then next thing you know, you're adding all these services because you are their most trusted advisor for life. You have earned that distinction. Chris Blaine says, yes. Oh, wait, this thing advanced real fast here.
Paul, to keep an eye on comments.
Wow. Jeff says, I employ a very diverse advisor staff, not based on knowledge, based 100% on people skills. We cover all four corners of disc/real training with diversity.
Fantastic.
Then, let's see, it says LinkedIn user. I think that's probably Lamont. Linda, yes, if you never deposit, you can never withdraw. Always keep depositing, keep depositing. It's like when you're in a race, don't look back, because when you look back, you're only going to be slowed down. Look forward, because you want to get to that finish line that's at the end. So always keep looking forward. And Linda says, Jeff, Daniel, so glad to hear you say you're a fan of DISC. I incorporate that in many of my trainings. And then the LinkedIn user says, great course. I plan on sharing it with my service team. Take care of the customer and the money will follow. I advise all on this show to contact Robert and get course information. Excellent information. I want you to put all your contact info, website. If it's a way to reach you, I want it in the thread. So please. Ron Usher says, thank you, Mr. Larkin. May make a special appearance. I am looking forward to that. We will talk, my friend, and we'll get it on the calendar. Mark Williamson says, customers may forget what you say or do, but they will never forget how you made them feel. There's something about feelings, right? That if you can invoke the right feelings in somebody, they'll do whatever you want, even if they don't want to do it, because you make them feel good.
Well, if you made a commitment to caring and you skip steps, that's not caring. So if you made a commitment to wow the shit out of them, to overwhelm people with how you care for them, that tells you. And by the way, I'm okay with making it all about the hours, because if you make it all about the hours and you do it with integrity, then you're serving your clients. So that's okay, because it's the same thing. You're serving the client. I once went in for an oil change and asked the guys, hey, please look this car over. We're going cross country. We took off at 4 o'clock in the evening to make it to Atlanta. When I got off the exit in Atlanta, my brake squealers started squealing. So first thing in the morning, I had to find a dealer to put some new brake pads on this car that was just in. So you've got to, it compels you, it makes you do the right things.
Michael Larkin, my word is my bond. If I don't keep my word, I have not earned and don't deserve to keep that bond. Sean Butler says, I'm in. I think Sean wants to be on that show with Ron. Linda Hansen said, 100% agree. Kiosks are better than night drops any day of the week. No, absolutely. I agree on that. Chris Lynn says, the wise man walks between the fool and the genius and learns from both. Spot on. And Linda Hansen says, I've been doing COVID-19 retailer training since March. It truly is important to customers. I would say it is probably the most important thing to customers. It is why we've gone from an outdoor, out on the road model to a working out of the house model with limited visits outwards. We do support the local restaurants with takeout. I masked up the other day and went into my friend's restaurant and we did a live because I'm trying to encourage them to showcase their food, right? People want to see, what does the food look like? You want to show them on video that they can almost taste it. And guess what? People have gone in and ordered the food because of what they saw on video.
That's right.
Lamont says, I thought I fixed my profile name. I'll take another look at my settings. That, I think he says, thanks, Paul. It says, that's Paul. Sean Butler says, Lamont Harris, we can see it on the comments. Oh, you know what? In the comments off the platform, I can, but not in the platform. And Crystal says, hey, Robert, what do you think about local shops offering to be the liaison when vehicles need to go to a dealer? The customer knows and trusts you, and you take care of the communication instead of the customer. What do you think about that?
I actually have not run across that yet. So obviously there are unconventional models that can work. So that's the magic of bringing people together from different backgrounds and different industries. Even you can think of things that can, if it serves the customer, and everybody must win. So I'm a firm believer in the four-way win. And the four-way win, the client has to win, the service advisor or the employee wins, the technician, management and owners win, and vendors win. So if everyone wins in the process, so you do it profitably and you serve at the highest level, then it's a win. If not, if even one loses, long-term it's not sustainable. Somebody's going to get pissed off. You're always going to walk around and saying, I can't find technicians.
Right.
Because you didn't care about the technicians. You cared about the owner. You cared about the client. You cared about the advisor on a great pay. The guy's out there, he doesn't even have AC in the shop yet. It's 130 degrees. What are you doing for them? Or the advisor's working 13-hour days, 6 days a week. And your advisors are not providing the customer service you want. Well, because it's only three-way win, maybe. You're taking care of everybody. But usually the way you do anything is the way you do everything. So the client's got to win. If it's an awesome experience and they say, yeah, I'd come back and I'd refer my friends to it, then sure. But I want to give you guys a tool. So some of you may know this, and I think I heard Sean Butler talk about how he empowers his advisors to make decisions so that you, the director, the service director, service manager, don't have to get involved in every decision. But one way to do it is you tell them, hey, I'll solve any problem for you. But first of all, you have to go through these 4 steps with each customer, and you write them down. And the advisor takes a notepad and says, all right, customer, what is the problem? How do you perceive what just happened? And the customer tells them what happened, and you write it down. And I actually empowered my advisors to do this. The second, you say, well, what do you think caused it? And the customer, might surprise you. Sometimes you think that you're totally guilty, and the customer might say something that's totally simple to solve, something you can say. And then the third point is, well, let's think about 2 or 3 solutions that are fair to both of us. Let's think about 2 or 3 things that would be fair to you. I'm committed, whether it's $1 or $10,000. And this phrase works really well. I've always told customers when they came in angry, I say, hey, don't worry. If it's $1 or $10,000, we're going to take care of you. And then the service advisor asked the question, well, what do you think we should do about it? What would be one way to do it with another way? And sometimes the customer just said, well, I don't want anything. I really just wanted to bring it to your attention that you guys are idiots and this time you screwed me. But I don't want anything. I just wanted to complain. And then, by the way, when anyone complains, the customer complains, what do? Thank them. You go into this mode of saying, thank you so much for bringing that to our attention. Because most people, when they get upset, they don't let us know. They just go away.
Right. And they blow you up online.
No, the thing is, yeah, but not even that, Paul. The problem is that a few blow you up online, but more never come back. I've dealt with so many customers that came from other places because of my 4.8 star reputation. And they say, oh, these people screwed up my stuff. I'm not going back there. And we said, but please go back there. They're good people. They're going to make it right. Says, no, I'm not going back there. They let me down. They broke that trust. So that's, you promise them and then you do take care of it. So in the end, the fourth step. So first of all, you tell the customer, define the problem as you see it. The second, what do you think caused it? And sometimes they might just totally surprise you and you're off the hook. The third one is, what are some possible solutions that are fair to both of us? Because we do want to do the right thing. We want to be your most trusted advisor for life. And we're committed to the solution. And sometimes, maybe 70, 80% of the time, the service advisor can make that decision with time. At first, no, they might have to refer to the service manager. And then you say, let's pick one of those that's fair to both of us. And of course, again, if in the under my care culture, the service advisor has deposited so many times into the emotional bank account of the client that the client wants to help you.
You've earned that.
That's right. They don't want you to lose your job. So I want to show you guys the platform a little bit, if that's okay.
Was that on the video? We were going to do that, right?
No, that's not in the video.
No?
So video is a 1 minute video. We can do the video. Are you ready?
Yeah.
I'll do the video. I need to share my screen. So
Yeah.
Share screen. Yes. All right. Let me know when I'm sharing.
Not yet. You have to pick whole screen.
Or Chrome tab. There we go.
There we go. Add to stream. There you go.
Are your employees as trained as Chick-fil-A employees? Or your employees as trained as Publix employees? If you know anything about Chick-fil-A and Publix, they train their employees extensively before they allow them to talk to customers. And then they go through an apprenticeship process. So they serve customers at the highest level. So it's not about how many hours you train. It's not about pouring a lot of content on your people. But you do have to give them the right training, the right words, the right thinking to begin with. Serving clients is about mindset, the correct mindset. And that's what Gravitational Service Department is all about. That's what the Under My Care culture is all about, is creating most trusted advisors for life in the automotive space for your clients. They will look at your department as the most trusted advisors for life. They will never think about buying a car anywhere else because they love the way you treat them every single time. And you have a moral obligation. Your employees, your service advisors, your technicians will feel like they have a moral obligation to present all the work in the correct order. Anything less would be cheating your customers and themselves. And that's how they can achieve the top income in the industry, and they can serve the customers again to where the customers, clients, they'll say, why would I buy a car anywhere else? I would be a fool. I'm staying right here. These people care for me, they love me, and I love them. Hey, let's give them something to talk about. Talk about love.
All right.
Love it.
All right. So that's the last screenshot you saw. That's the training. Sorry about that.
No problem.
YouTube autoplay. Yeah. So not only do you secure your income today when you sign up to the Under My Care philosophy and you serve your customers, you should have a sticker on your computer that today, with every client, I will recommend the optimum quantity, quality, combination, and frequency of services that will best serve them, that will protect their investment in their vehicle, that will give them the maximum enjoyment. And you end up selling a lot of cars, a lot more cars out of service. I really enjoyed as a service manager walking dozens of customers up front as they were servicing their cars. They said, well, we're just going to buy a car today. They didn't even think about going anywhere else. And that's the real benefit of being the number one in your region, being the number one in the Southeast. So that's a worthy goal. And by the way, if you don't have a major goal, and John Fairchild, of Fairchild Automotive, he says the first thing he teaches when he consults with dealers is have a big goal, have a big vision. And then I'll say this, let your vision guide your decisions. So again, about if you ever broke a promise, then let your vision guide your decision. So if your vision, a good one is, I want to be known in the marketplace as the most trustworthy place as far as service goes, where people talk about us online all the time. And of course, you should have a process for getting online reviews. If the dealer doesn't know the power of that, they need to get really serious about it. And when your vision guides every decision, and it becomes easy. And you encourage each other to make sure we do the right thing here if you ever break a promise. So
hey, let me just cut into that one. For anybody who has questions about how to blow their online reviews up, there's a gentleman in this thread, Michael Larkin, on LinkedIn. If you're not connected with him, I would say definitely connect with him, because he can help you in ways that you haven't even imagined. And he put up the hashtag wow the shit out of them.
Amen.
Sorry about that. Go ahead.
All right, so I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to go straight into the training platform.
Go for it.
Created. I figured that if I continued calling on dealers and consulting individual dealers, I'll help a few dealers a year. But if I take 30 years worth of award-winning customer service experience, and by the way, Hilton and Honda was the place where these guys showed me what it means to have customers under your care, and key tossers where people didn't ask for estimates. They just said, I trust you, do the thing, and you'll have the total. Yes, never a problem. Well, except for when I didn't do the work, and the guy said, why didn't you do the work? Oh, I want you to do the work. That's why I came here. So anyways, this can help thousands of dealers. So here we go. We're going to go into the training platform.
And just a heads up, we may go over a little bit on time because there's a lot of content here. So just to let you know.
All right. Can you guys see that well?
Yeah.
Okay. So this gets set up for each location. It's very easy, very quick learning curve. So this is how difficult this is. Look, it says training center and then it says start training. You click on start training. And then these are the modules that are in there right now. I probably have about 60, 70 more ready that need to be loaded, but these are tests. So there's a test at the end of each one, and the service manager can set the repetition. So if you see that someone is struggling in a certain area, service advisor, you can set the number of repetitions. And repeatedly, this person is it's kind of falling short in, let's say, making all the recommendations. Then you can click on one of these. You can send them, and you can assign the training to the person specifically. And let's see, make my day. So this would be one that I can play from beginning because I already.
Hey, I know those kids. Robert, I can't hear the words.
Oh, man. Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, but I couldn't hear the words on the video.
Sorry about that. So all the people, they all said, make my day. Make my day.
Okay.
Then at the end, we just said, hey, care for each person as if they were a beloved family member. And I have to specify beloved because some people have family members they maybe don't like. But and make their day. You got to make, especially now in these crazy times, people need someone to cheer them up. So you can be that person. So here at the end of this short module, which I think this one was about 90 seconds, there's only 2 questions. And so what is one of the most important things we can do for each person we meet? Make their day. They remember you because who said it? That people will remember you, will remember how you made them feel, right?
Yeah.
And then let's see, what's the next test question? How do we best make our clients' day? With a warm welcome first, offering complete solutions. Oh, we have to do a little spell checking there. And then it says here, C would be presenting only the items in the red. D, not cutting any corners. So there would be 3 correct answers here, because you want to present complete solutions and you do want to have a warm welcome. And by the way, that's one of the most important things to me, the welcome. I am working on the welcome kit that we customize for each dealer. You want to have a welcome kit, an orientation for your clients where they're introduced to your service department, whether they're from sales to service or they come in through the service drive. Not just go ahead and write the repair order and give them a promise time. Often that's very transactional. That's not how you start a relationship for life. Now you could say, hey, we're extremely busy right now, but I do have a orientation thing for you. I want to tell you all about our service department. Here's a little welcome kit, which has a little gift for you, and also a link to a YouTube video which you create and tells the client about how to set up appointments if they just drove in. And it makes your life easier because they learn how to get the best service in your department. And 70% of people will actually follow what you tell them. They're new to town. They're looking for a new dealer. I have had people go, my goodness, a welcome letter? I never got a welcome letter.
It's a spin on the old welcome wagon.
Yeah, it's a piece of paper. But anyway, so these modules, you can go through them at your pace, or the service manager can assign the pace and the content depending on what you need. Every department has different needs.
Yeah.
All right. So, and down here, you'll see we can do a little gamification, and eventually we'll work a little bit more on this. You can do it per location or nationally. No, you don't see it here. You see it. Just a second.
Well, you're looking for that. Sean Butler said, no, I was referring to the kiosk show. Can't wait to see that. John Frazier loves them. Yes, John and I were texting today, as a matter of fact. Steve Apicella, think expectation versus distinction. Should you have sanitization protocols during a pandemic? Of course, that's an expectation. How would you execute it and maintain it while delivering your product/service is your distinction or not? 100%. I found that out the hard way. Crystal says, let me know when you're ready and then I'll back. You ready to go?
Yeah, I'm good. So that was just the screen where we show, your standing, the leaderboard.
Okay.
So you have healthy competition. We can make some millionaire service advisors. So let's say you assign a point value to each training, to each competition, and you can say whoever reaches the first million gets a $500 bonus, or a nice dinner to a beautiful a restaurant of their choice in the town, and they can pick the rest, whatever the thing might be, right? It doesn't have to be expensive, but people do like a little competition. So
the manager can see everybody's progress throughout this whole thing.
That's right.
And if somebody's struggling, they can reassign particular modules.
That's right. So it's all about accountability. And I think most of us who are here, we believe that thoughts do become things, because thoughts become actions. If you feed yourself with the right thinking, you're going to take the right action. But it starts with a thought. It always starts with the right thinking. So the foundation here is not as much process. It's about 50% process, which I'm a firm believer in awesome processes. You should have nothing short of awesome. So again, and then the mindset that moves those processes forward, which is, hey, I'm going to care for you I want to make sure that you're going to leave here armed with all the information. But first of all, I want you to make a decision today, of course, and let's make sure you're safe and protected and you don't have to go out there, because we do have the best quality parts and the best trained technicians, and we'll take care of it right. But so it's half process, half mindset.
Crystal says we have been doing that with PCM, electrical, reflagging. Customers love it. Our tech talks to their techs. So that's something they've explored. That's working for them. You know what? The great thing about collaboration is we all put our minds together, and just because we haven't done something doesn't mean that we may not benefit from trying it.
That's right.
Ed Robert says customer experience is everything. Ron Usher, trust and teamwork #1. And the lovely Paulette Meyer, who happens to be my wife, says most often the customer wants to feel like you care about them. Sean Butler says, yes, we empower our employees to take care of the guests, advisors, and technicians. Giving them the power earns their commitment. They make good choices. We always take care of the customer, but getting the guest participation is key to retaining them. Free labor / customer pays for parts, etc. And Crystal says, that's why I do follow-ups. I call and ask how their experience was, how is the vehicle running, and is there anything else we could do to better serve you? Jeff Daniel says, Linda Hansen, disc flash reel training has always been a hot button for me. I learned how to flex away from my strengths years ago to enhance diversity. And Steve says, my goal is simple. I want that car on my trade-in radar.
Amen.
Michael Larkin, online reputation must match your 5-star offline reputation for continued growth. Otherwise, they're just gaming the system without actually doing the work. And you know what? That gets found out in time. So he refers to it as a win, 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 win. And Steve Cheston says, my orientation welcome kit is my BDC. My rep, or BDR, is a CRM that is different title for a different role. Mark Williamson, great show, guys. Thank you both for your contributions to our industry. Mark, thank you for always supporting the show, man. If you guys see value in what we discussed here, by all means, share it in your community, whether it be on LinkedIn or on Facebook or on YouTube, wherever it is, because if we help each other all become better, we are one community. And they may be in your store today, my store tomorrow, Robert's store the day after, but if we all present that united front where we're the good guys and gals, then we all benefit from it. Was there something you wanted to put on the screen, Robert?
Yeah, just for a second, I want to show you guys the
You got it.
Simplest leadership training out there. And this can be a checklist for anyone in leadership, and it goes by the name Mitch. So you can see it in the training modules there from the second. M stands for modeling mastery of desired behavior. I is for inspiring. T is for teaching or developing curriculum if you're not going to be the teacher. C is for coaching until the teaching is applied correctly. And H is for holding accountable or hugging your people. And the word hug, I just took the liberty to create another acronym. It's hold accountable, uplift, and guide. It's just a way to hold accountable by not tearing people down. And so that's part of this training for managers is leadership, but very simple. So it's basically a checklist that you can use every day. As a leader, you got to live by those. And just a note on the inspiring, of course, most of you know, and I watched Ed Roberts in action just most recently, is the way you inspire people is you get interested. You actually get to know them a little bit, and you know their stories. And when you walk through the shop, you walk slowly, you stop and talk to all of them, you know their names. And also you're in a state of flow. And I think it was Sean Butler who said today that, hey, sometimes if you're feeling down, that's okay. But you accepted a great calling when you accepted the job of service manager. These people are counting on you. And I've been guilty of not having the most positive attitude, and I've affected my people by doing it.
When? I've never known you to not have the utmost and positive attitude.
As a service manager, it's happened. There's a wall, which I'm sure has been repaired 15 years ago, that had 2 knuckles in it, in the drywall.
Yours, I take it.
Yeah, so I have gone through anger management.
Well,
No.
you graduated with flying colors, my friend.
No, but so I think we're over time. Thank you, everyone.
We are over time. So thank you, Robert. Thank you very much, man. I appreciate you being on the show. We got some great stuff discussed tonight. Some great audience participation. I just love it. And at the end of the month, I'm coming up on the 1-year anniversary of Sunday Night Live. So yeah, this is very exciting stuff. Of course, that also means that I'm getting older. So thank you very much. I appreciate all of you. Be safe. Have a successful next week. And we'll see you next week on Sunday Night Live.